Time to pull up a chair. We've got another great story for you today in the rLounge. Boundaries teach others how to treat us. They say, this is who I am, and this is how I deserve to be treated. Today in the rLounge, let's embrace the courage to set boundaries, to stand firm in our convictions, and to choose relationships that honor our worth. Up first, life couldn't be more blissful, until OP's in-laws dropped the bombshell that they're moving in for 6 months. Am I the a-hole for refusing to share my vacation home with my in-laws for 6 months after they sold their house without consulting me? Am I the a-hole for refusing to share my vacation home without my in-laws for 6 months after they sold their house without consulting me? Background. My husband, 35 male, and I, 33 female, have been married for 5 years. We own a beautiful vacation home on the beach that we built ourselves and use throughout the year. My in-laws, 60, have always been welcome guests, visiting for a few weeks here and there and contributing financially towards maintenance costs. Last month, my in-laws suddenly announced they were selling their house to downsize and move into a tiny condo. Apparently, they've been secretly harboring this idea for months, never mentioning it to me or my husband. They plan to close on the sale in 2 weeks and then move into our vacation home for 6 months while they figure things out. I was floored. This house is our sanctuary, not a retirement home extension. We use it frequently, have friends and family booked to visit throughout the year, and rely on the income it generates during peak season. My in-laws, on the other hand, haven't lifted a finger on the property themselves and contributed only minimally. My husband, bless his sweetheart, is more understanding. He feels bad for his parents and believes we can make it work. His in-laws, sensing my resistance, are now guilt-tripping us, claiming they have nowhere else to go and offering to pay significantly more than their usual contribution. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let them move in? On one hand, I feel obligated to help family in need, but on the other, this feels like an outrageous imposition on our personal space and finances. Let's see how the community reacts. First up, not the a-hole. It is outrageous. You'd be well within your right to say no, but I'm curious, how is your relationship with them otherwise? How is your husband's relationship with them? What other options do they have? Again, you have every right to say no, and it would not make you the a-hole. But is it worth the damage it could do? In other words, are you okay with whatever fallout occurs? If you end up deciding to let them stay, I would be very clear about how upset and disrespected you feel, and that if they ever pull anything like that again, you're going to have major problems. I usually try not to edit comments after so much time and traffic has passed, but I just have to add, with the additional info from OP's comments, mother-in-law is an absolute nightmare. Anyone who throws a sobbing fit about not being in the delivery room when you're actively in labor is a complete and utter entitled, narcissistic a-hole, and the other examples were just as bad. Good job putting your foot down, OP, and I'm glad to hear your husband is, so far, rising to the occasion and laying down the law. There may be hope for him yet. The OP replies, my relationship with them is strained because this is not the first time they have grossly overstepped. This had led to many a fight between my husband and me. My husband sees no wrong in their behavior and thinks we should just help them. Every time they're at the vacation home, they've commented on how much they love it and would love to live in a place like this at retirement. So I feel this was a very intentional move on their part. Not letting them stay will create a conflict in my marriage, but I'm pretty positive that they will never leave if we let them move in. The next judgment says, no, not the a-hole. Do not do this. Don't fall for the because family needs it BS. This isn't family in need of your space. This is running a con to get into your space. They can find plenty of spaces. Hell, take a cruise for 6 months. If they need help, you can help them find a temporary space for 6 months. In fact, why not meet them with a list of a few places they can look at? I know they won't look, but it sends the right message. They just showed you who they are. They are sneaky, manipulative, only care about what they want, and are willing to try and guilt trip you to give it to them. Nothing in this says they are loving and want what is best for you. What do they even mean, figure things out? It sounds like they don't have a plan and are just expecting to move in and stay forever. Once they have established residency, you can't just evict them. You need to go through a process. Since your husband can't say no now, do you really expect he will be able to say no later? There is no upside for you in this. There's only grief and pain. I wouldn't do this at all, but if forced to, I would have them on a lease. That way you can evict them once it ends. If they get in there without a set of end date, it will go much worse for you. I'm sorry your husband doesn't understand that his parents are using you both. Good luck. Here's some more on the relationship with the in-laws. What else have they done? On our first marriage anniversary, they gifted us a chicken. We lived in an apartment at the time. On Valentine's Day, the second year, they showed up at our house mid-afternoon because they thought it would be special to spend the night with us. On our birth of our daughter, my mother-in-law refused to leave the delivery room until I had the nurse drag her out, and then she sobbed obnoxiously loud in the hallway outside the room. When COVID happened, she ordered us cases and cases of beans and other canned food to help us prep for the apocalypse, and then sent us the bill. My mother-in-law demands all holidays with them and shows up unannounced to my parents, who are 4 hours away each holiday we spend with them, and forces us out of my bedroom when we sleep on the pull-out sofa the whole visit. My mother-in-law demanded my husband go to her house last year to fix something on our daughter's birthday, and then kept him there till after the birthday party was over, and then had a birthday party she planned for my daughter at her house the next day. Our second daughter's birth was similar, where she sobbed and instantly FaceTimed my husband since I refused to let her into my delivery room. She sent a mixed nuts package to my parents at Christmas this last year, knowing my dad is deathly allergic to tree nuts. I could go on and on. The OP is voted not the a-hole. You're not the a-hole here, OP. It's completely reasonable to want to maintain your personal space and boundaries, especially given the history of boundary crossing behavior from your in-laws. Your in-laws' decision to sell their house and move into your vacation home is disrespectful and presumptuous. It's clear that they have a pattern of overstepping boundaries and disregarding your wishes, as evidenced by the examples you've shared. Allowing them to move in could potentially lead to long-term conflicts and difficulties in asserting your boundaries in the future. You can't guarantee that they'd even leave after 6 months. It's important to communicate your feelings and concerns openly and honestly with your husband, as well as setting clear boundaries with your in-laws. Your husband may need to understand the severity of the situation and the negative impact it could have on your relationship and family dynamics if your in-laws were to move in without your consent. Update 2 days later. Edited to add an update, as it's likely to get lost down in the comments. I'll give a quick update while I wait to get the kids from school and answer a few questions I saw pop up. We co-own the beach house. We bought it in 2020 when interest rates were super low before houses skyrocketed. The in-laws have helped us with projects and pay for a few things, but so do my parents. So we have never thought of their contribution as anything but help from parents. They had their annual Old Farts Christmas party, their words not mine, there this past December, and had the place for a week free of charge for them and all their guests. So they definitely have gotten plenty of use of it. We had a come to Jesus moment yesterday, and I was the a-hole to my husband. I told him I was done and I wasn't even entertaining them staying there, as it's our business and this is bad business. I basically told him I was over his mom and it was at the point I'm about to peace out because I can't handle her crap anymore. Previously to this, I was no contact with her and would entertain them when they'd come to visit. They never stayed at our house as we live relatively close to them. He still has no clue if they're truly selling their house, if they're upside down on bills, or they're just a-holes, but I honestly don't care. My parents are immigrants and own a restaurant and have worked their butts off to create a fantastic life for me and my siblings. They also taught us the value of money and working hard for the things we have. The vacation home was bought cheap, but 90% of the renovations were done by me during my free time. Renovations are my true love. Nursing pays the bills. I love it too, but it doesn't fill the creative cup. I told him he'd lose the house to his parents over my dead body, and if he feels the need to financially set them up, he can do so with extra money he earns from picking up shifts. Also a nurse. Basically, I told him their failure was not an emergency on my part. They've always kept up with the Joneses and spent exorbitantly. So they might be broke, and again, I don't care. I have barely tolerated his mom for the past few years. I'll be cordial because I was raised well, but I'm over-tolerating their nonsense. I will say he does see all the crap she pulls, but he was raised that mom knows best. He's Puerto Rican, so that is partially cultural. But I'm done. I worked yesterday and busted my butt and then drove the kids to the beach house last night and picked up dinner, and we were there, and I just thought, F no. So time will tell, but he called his parents and on speakerphone told them they couldn't stay, but the offer to condo hunt is still open, but he needs to know the price range and all that jazz. His mom cried and I flipped the phone off. So, as of this moment, it's not happening. I also told him if it's a problem, he can quit claim deed the beach house and I'll cover the expenses and manage it myself, because mama don't play. Good for you, OP. Setting boundaries and standing up for yourself is important, especially when it comes to protecting your personal space and financial interests. Your willingness to take charge of the situation and assert your boundaries shows strength and determination. Moreover, it's not your problem that they're selling the place and need to figure things out. Everything should have been figured out before they decided to sell. Would you have let your in-laws stay? Was OP wrong? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Next up, one wife's request for affection takes an unexpected turn down TikTok lane. Am I the a-hole for screaming at my husband to get out after he pranked me with flowers? My husband and my marriage is not going well. I'm very close to divorce and I've talked to him about it. I told him I wanted some effort. I wanted flowers, chocolate, a nicely written note, something that showed he wanted to romance me. He finally took it seriously and agreed. When I came home from a 12-hour shift yesterday, he had laid a trail of rose petals in our house. It was so beautiful. The trail ended at the kitchen sink where he had piled a bunch of dirty dishes, pots, and pans to clean. He said he got the idea from TikTok. I screamed at him to get out of my house. He left after arguing a bit. I cried. Some of my friends said I was right, but others say he was just being playful. Am I the a-hole? Now let's see what the comments think. First up, not the a-hole. I'm old and a widow. I had a very long and loving relationship with my husband. He had a fantastic sense of humor and often did very silly things to get a laugh out of me. Our marriage was solid because he would never have let me come home from a 12-hour shift to rose petals leading to a dirty sink of dishes. He would have had rose petals leading to a sparkling kitchen, ready dinner, and with him dressed in a French maid outfit, probably with his butt hanging out. God, I miss that man. Anyway, what your husband did, especially knowing how much you were really needing some romance, was incredibly cruel and tone deaf. I don't think this one is a keeper, OP. The OP replies, I'm sorry for your loss. Your husband sounds like an incredible man who loved you very, very much. I wish I had that kind of love. The next voter says, TikTok is a pestilence. Did he film you? That's not playful, especially when the stakes are high. Get him a fake winning lottery ticket, then hand him a divorce decree. The OP replies, he had his phone out. I don't think he posted it, but if he does, I'm done. I actually found the original, or maybe one of the TikTok pranks he used as inspiration. The comments even pointed out how messed up it was to do. I would give him a fake lottery ticket if I didn't know he would make a fuss about it. Yeah, that's not something a husband does when their wife tells them they want to be romanced. Unless that was a path for him to do the dishes. What your husband did may have been intended as playful, but it clearly missed the mark and ended up being hurtful instead. Your feelings are valid, and it's important for your partner to take your needs and concerns seriously, especially during a time when your marriage is struggling. The fact that he chose to execute a prank inspired by TikTok instead of genuinely addressing your request for romance shows a lack of understanding and empathy on his part. Update. My husband came back home last night. I had cooled off and then he ruined it by saying I was overreacting, that it was funny, and he wanted to make me laugh. I told him I was going to file for divorce because it was the last straw. He then started crying and begging me not to. He begged me to give him a second chance. I said he already got a second chance and he squandered it by reminding me that I do all the daily chores in this house. This was why our marriage was rocky. I work in the medical field while he is a blue-collar worker. Both of our jobs require long hours, but if I mess up, people die. He once said that I went through all that schooling just to get covered in blood and crap. He took it back after, but he wanted to make me feel low. He started doing that a bit after COVID started. I do the cooking and cleaning. I do the laundry, the sweeping, the dentist appointments. All he does is create more work for me. He wanted me to pack him lunch because his friends' wives do. His friends' wives are either stay-at-home moms or they have part-time jobs. I do not have the time or energy to do that. He said he mows the lawn. Well, guess what? It's winter and I had to shovel the driveway because I had work in the morning and he had the day off. I make more money. I bought our house at a low rate during COVID because his credit was too low. I had to save the money for a down payment. I pay our mortgage. What did he contribute to my life? If I didn't have him in my life, I would have clean floors all the time and more money. At least he could contribute love. He said he loved me, but he doesn't do anything to prove it. So I asked him for flowers or chocolate or a nice card, literally anything to show some love. But instead he dropped flower petals to a sink full of dirty dishes, pots, and pans. It's not even original. I'm done. I'm going to file for divorce. That's a valid decision, OP. Your husband's dismissive attitude towards your feelings and the gravity of the situation further highlight the lack of empathy and understanding in your relationship. His failure to acknowledge the impact of his actions and his unwillingness to make meaningful changes only exacerbate the existing problems. It's important for you to prioritize your own well-being and happiness. If you feel the divorce is the best course of action for you, then it's worth exploring that option further. Ultimately, you deserve to be in a relationship where you feel valued, respected, and loved. If your husband is unable and unwilling to meet your needs and make positive changes, it may be necessary to consider ending the marriage for your own emotional and mental health. What would you do? Would you leave? Thanks for joining us today. Don't forget to like and subscribe and click that notification bell before you leave. We'd love to hear your thoughts on today's topic, so feel free to leave a comment. See you next time in the rLounge.